On to agenda item number 4, an update on the Stark Street Bridge Replacement Project.
Hi everyone. Good evening. Good to see everyone again. My name is Megan Neal. I'm with Multnomah County Transportation. I'm an engineering services manager there, and with me today is...
Hi, good evening. Ryan Rucker. I'm an engineer with Multnomah County in the Bridge Shop.
Yeah, so we're really excited to come back to this group and provide an update on the Stark Street Bridge Replacement Project. We were here in May, and we just kind of want to share what we've been up to, some key advancements in the project they're about to share with the public imminently, and answer any questions you may have. So on the next slide, just as a reminder of what we talked about in May, we were just kicking off the project, so we're really presenting the purpose and need of the project, the location, the context, why the county feels like this is a really important project to invest time and energy in, and we shared a lot of the issues we're having with truck traffic turning onto the bridge and some of the emergency repair projects you might have been familiar with. And then also we're sharing an upcoming survey that we were putting out in the community to kind of understand how the community is using this bridge and what is of interest to them. So we're back to you today. On the next slide, we want to share the results of the survey and outreach that we did, share with you today a draft recommendation of the design option we feel like is the best solution for this location and bridge, and then also share another outreach opportunity that's going to go live here, we feel, next week, asking the public what they think. So before we want to jump into that, I just want to provide a couple brief recaps of some basics of the project. On the next slide, just generally the purpose and need. Built in 1914, this bridge is over 100 years old. It doesn't really meet the current safety needs of the community, like how much weight it can carry, the width, and also just the burden of an aging infrastructure in the county system. And we're really looking for an opportunity to build a new, safe, seismically resilient bridge in this crossing that will really just be overall generally what the community needs for the next 100 years. On the next slide, just a brief overview of where we are with our current schedule in the current phase, which is the environmental review phase. As I mentioned, we kicked off the project last fall and spring with just getting the word out there about why this project is important to the community. Then in the spring, we worked on developing a range of options to evaluate for a solution here, and solicited feedback from the community on how, what should we take into consideration. We're now here in the summer, presenting on that design recommendation, and then this coming fall and winter, we hope to finalize that recommendation, wrap up the environmental review phase, and continue to seek funding for future phases. As a reminder, we only have funding for the current phase, so presumably if we were to get funded, we could start design as early as 2028, and construction is in 2031, but of course, it's all dependent on funding. On the next slide, just to share a little bit of who we've been talking to, we've really tried to hit many of the local communities around the bridge. So we've been to a lot of tabling and briefing events in Corbett, Gresham, Troutdale Wood Village, Fairview, as well as some of the advisory committees in the area, the historic Columbia River Highway, both Friends and Advisory Committee, and of course all the Troutdale council meetings and community meetings. A little bit on the next slide, what we heard from the survey. We're very excited to get about 450 responses, and an overwhelming amount of the people who took the survey used the bridge on a weekly basis. Almost half of the respondents use the bridge daily, so we're really excited to hear from people who use the bridge. There are direct stakeholders. And what we heard largely on the next slide, if we were to kind of wrap it up in some key themes, We've heard a lot about issues with the bridge being so narrow. So a lot of the reasons why we are doing this project in the first place, concerns about traffic delays, safety, both with bikes, peds, and vehicles, and then a small percentage have not experienced any issues. So just to kind of give you a flavor of what we're hearing through this survey. And then now I'll hand over to Ryan and he'll dive into our draft recommendation for design option.
Thank you. Yes. So to kind of go over the draft recommended design option, based on the feedback from the community during the survey and some of the key findings that we got from the historic baseline review, the county recommends the option of preserving the existing bridge and building a new seismically resilient bridge downstream, as you can see in the image on the screen. Next slide. So the county understands that the community has a strong connection with the existing bridge. It's a part of the city of Troutdale and this region. The county also values the community's input and voice, and we feel that this recommended option reflects what we heard from that survey and from a lot of the outreach events that we went to. And this includes, the strong support for preserving the existing bridge. The other idea with this is that the existing bridge would be open to bicyclists, people that are walking around this area, and it would avoid the impact of the historic resource of the bridge. And this would kind of invite more people to be on the existing bridge, kind of taking in the beauty of the river in the local area. Next slide. Okay, gonna jump into some images here. So this first one shows the cross-section of the roadway of the existing bridge. As you can see, just a 2-lane road, 9'6" wide on each lane, which is significantly smaller than your typical lane that you would see on a newer roadway. And then the 4-foot sidewalk that was built after the fact when the bridge was constructed. And then we'll move over to the new bridge. Next slide. So you can see here significantly wider. You have your typical 12-foot lanes for your vehicular traffic. You will have a 6-foot bike lane on either side of the bridge, and then a 10-foot sidewalk that would serve pedestrians going either way, north and south. So you can see here significantly wider by 30 feet, essentially double the bridge that you have now. Sorry, next slide. You're good. So we're going to go into some renderings. This is just to kind of give you a visual aspect of what the new bridge will look like next to the existing. So this is on the roadway looking north on the new bridge. I give everyone a few seconds.
That's why you did just sidewalk on the south side and not both sides?
I don't know what the rationale was behind it. I think it was to tie to the existing bridge because there's a walkway that we're proposing that would go from the roadway to the existing bridge, and this would tie in and then reduce impacts of building a sidewalk that would connect on the other side. All right, next slide. And here we have an aerial view. This is just showing the new bridge on the south or the bottom of the visual here and the existing bridge up above. You can see from this view a much wider turning radius for vehicles coming on and off of the bridge to the historic highway. Next slide. Again, here is the north approach of the new bridge. Just trying to show the visual, that wider turning radius, much more improved view east and west for traffic. Next slide. And lastly, a view from the river, just trying to give a visual aspect of those river users, what they'll see when they're moving downstream. With the existing bridge first and then the new bridge to the west of it. All right, so next we're going to jump into some of the evaluation of the range of options. So we looked at a myriad of options. We wanted to do our due diligence, make sure that we made the best selection. There were some options that didn't quite meet the criteria of the purpose and need of the project. Those options were doing nothing, so essentially leaving the bridge as it is, and retrofitting the existing bridge. These two options kind of circle around the seismic resiliency of the project. If we did nothing, or if we did the retrofit, those would be they would be vulnerable to a seismic event, which would leave us with only the I-84 crossing to be able to get east and west for the local community. The last option that we did not seem was feasible was building a new bridge at a different location. This had to do a lot with cost impacts to the local community.
I'll just add on to Ryan's comment about the retrofit. We found that it just, given the narrow width of the existing bridge and the cost to widen it and improve the foundations, it just didn't seem like the best cost-effective solution for this project. So that's just one additional note I wanted to add to what Ryan was saying.
Thank you. Next slide. The options that we felt best met the project goals and community needs. The first option was to demolish the existing bridge and construct a new and wider bridge along the same alignment. And the second option was to preserve the existing bridge and construct a new wider bridge for all users next to the existing bridge, as we spoke to a few slides ago. Next slide. So with that, because the existing bridge is eligible for the National Historic Register and is a contributing resource to the historic Columbia River Highway District, we found that it would be highly unlikely that the county would receive Federal Highway's approval to demolish the existing bridge. So with that, we came to the conclusion that the best option, preserving the existing bridge and constructing a new bridge downstream, is the most reasonable and feasible option that meets the project's purpose and need.
And I will add also to what Ryan said is, in a similar vein, this conclusion from the baseline study also ruled out the retrofit or made it very unlikely just because it would significantly impact a historic resource to the point that it could, like a demolition project would not be approved by federal highways. Not likely.
And with that, I'll hand it back to Megan.
Oh yeah, okay, just a couple more slides and we'd love to hear your questions. Just want to share that we're going to take a lot of the information that we presented today, have a little bit more elaboration on it and share it out with the community in an online open house with an accompanying survey. We plan to launch it by the end of this week or early next, so we'd love to, we are connecting with social media staff to make sure we get the word out on the survey and link. And we're seeking feedback on this recommend option. And not only will we have the online survey, we'll be kind of out there promoting it through tabling, briefings, other in-person events. We'll have a virtual webinar, some in-person open houses at Corbett and Troutdale, as well as social media. So we really want to hear from the community what they think and kind of get their gut reaction on this proposal. And then on the next slide, our next steps is we will take in the feedback we receive, assess if it's supportive of the recommended design option. If so, we'd finalize the recommendation and then complete the environmental review phase, which we anticipate running through spring of next year. And then, as I mentioned, we do not have funds for future phases, so we'll continue to pursue funding opportunities as they arise and also just continue to raise awareness in the community of the importance of this critical regional project. So this will likely be the last time we'll come to you and present about this project, unless there's major changes based on the feedback we're hearing. So, but of course, we're always happy to come back in general if you have any questions about how the project is progressing. So thank you. With that, we'll just open it up to any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. I'll just say, delighted that the plan is to not tear down the historic bridge. It is rather important to Troutdale, at least I think so, and I think people here do. But it does see, your outlining seems to needs for the traffic improvements that are really needed. Anyway, that's my comment, but how about anybody else on council? John?
Have you had contact with the people on the south end of the bridge about property sale or?
Yeah,
Or they just bought that?
Yeah, we reached out to the property owner, the new property owner. You know, it's been a light touch. We're still working on some more intense engagement, but we shared all this information with him before we came here tonight. So yeah, we're eagerly looking forward to connect with him so we can better understand how this project might impact his property and understand early mitigation ideas.
Anyone else? John, go ahead, Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, I just I had that question too about the property across, so I'm glad you asked that. As far as the design goes, I know a lot of comments on complementing the historic bridge that's already there versus making it just look like a highway overpass in the middle of a beautiful scenic area. So it sounds like we're still gathering feedback on design qualities, or is that essentially the render of what the design is meant to look like?
So this is just an early concept, you know, really capture the essence of the solution. There's a lot of work still to be done in the design phase, and in addition to that, engagement with the community about the specific design of the bridge. We do know, though, at this time that we will have to take into account the gorge scenic area land use requirements, which talk about a lot of times new structures being visually subordinate to the surrounding area. So I don't think we can do something big or flashy here. That's why we're showing something very, nothing with structure above the decks. But to answer your question, we have a lot more work to do and a lot more engagement with the community on the final design of the bridge.
The counselor's question, is there some sort of aesthetics that you can do to enhance the look, bring it more into compliance with what we see typically crossing the Columbia River Gorge and the Sandy River? Like add some pillars or some art or some nice aesthetic features.
Absolutely. I think that's actually part of the gorge scenic land use process, is ensuring that there's actually an aesthetic guideline for the gorge. So I think we also have to comply with that. And that's where you kind of see that on a lot of the I-84 bridges that go out to the gorge. That design guideline was implemented on those projects. So the color, the shape, the materials kind of blend into the gorge background. That will apply to us as well. So I think there is opportunity to take into account those finer details in the design phase.
And just one more question I had was, you had mentioned a couple different reasons for the retrofit not necessarily panning out. You had mentioned monetary. I'm not sure what that data looks like as far as the cost effectiveness, but it sounds like that wouldn't matter anyway because you don't think we'll be able to do it based on the historical regulations. Is that correct?
Correct. I appreciate you picking that up. Yeah, typically with retrofits, you spend the same money as you would on a new bridge. So when I say cost effective, then it's stewardship of public funds. Generally, it's always best to use those dollars for a new structure.
Thank you. I know it's not in our town, but we care a great deal about that road. Call ourselves the gateway of the gorge out here. So thank you for taking the time. You know, when I see those old pictures of the bridge, it's compared to the new bridge, it really is quite stark in comparison. And, you know, I don't really think doing a survey is the best approach to making a major decision like that. It tells me, you know, the Troutdale Bridge was built about the same time, Sandy River. So would that be your solution to do that? Save that bridge and build another one downstream?
Are you talking specifically about the Troutdale Bridge here downtown? That one's actually owned by ODOT, so we don't have jurisdiction over that, but they're twins. These bridges were built around the same time and are the same style.
And then there's a bridge, the railroad bridge, which carries the weight of a train, and it's very similar construction, so it's hard for me to, I'm not an engineer, I don't know how many kibs that thing can hold, but it seems like it's pretty sound. Freight train. So it's like, to me, the best solution, probably most aesthetically pleasing one, is do similar to what they do with the Troutdale Bridge. They at least have that same 4-foot walkway, and most bicycles use the bridge. They increased it to 10 feet not too long ago. You hardly notice. I think anybody would think that's the way the bridge was originally built. Such a good job. And just fix the approach, and if you need to beef that bridge up, I doubt, I'd be really surprised. It's not like there's a lot of heavy loads going across that bridge. The seismic thing, I don't know about. Probably gonna lose all 3 bridges if that happens,
That is true. We're hoping this potential new bridge would last all of the bridges and serve the transportation needs post-earthquake when that happens, yeah. So it's interesting that we have these graphics of 2 bridges, but at the end of the day, 100 years from now, there's likely just be 1 bridge standing.
I just wanted to get that in for the record. Thank you.
Questions? Carol?
So you had said that you won't be coming and presenting yet. When would we know what that looks like? What is the new bridge really going to look like? And
We'll be back when we have funding for the next phase, which we are waiting to hear about an earmark request from the FY27 congressional session, so we could hear that as early as October. I mean, my understanding is the deadline is October 1st, so should we be successful, we'll be back. And if we're not successful, maybe there's a way the county can take the bridge design to 30% and pause. Perhaps we have funds for that, but so that's what I meant. I'm sorry that we would not be back here. We would if this project continues to move forward.
And you made a comment of it would be 1 bridge in 100 years. I would sure hope that the older bridges can be preserved for our future generations. I think it's really important that, although I may not be here in 100 years, but my great-great-grandchildren will be, and I would love them to know the history of Troutdale and where they have grown up and enjoy the historical landmarks that we have today. I would hope that we would preserve that for the future.
Make one request to your first question. Could we pull the slide deck back up? There was one more slide, and it has our website, which I think would be great for online users and the people in the crowd if they want to get those updates or get our newsletter, things like that, so they can check on the status.
Meantime, other questions from the council? Carol, were you?
I'm done, thank you.
Yeah, so if you're interested, starkstreetbridge.org is where you can sign up for our newsletter. You can see updates, things like that, so you can check on it if we don't come back in the near future. Yeah.
We also developed a project logo, which strangely looks exactly like that photo on the left, looking in a different direction, but just noticing that now. But we're hoping to present to the community a project logo at this round of outreach.
Very good, thank you. In case there's public comment, I will open up public comment. These could be questions for you, so I'll start with online. Anyone online wish to address the representatives of the county about the Stark Street Bridge project? And not seeing anyone here in the room. Anyone? I'll start over here.
Just a quick question, if you're gonna make the old bridge pedestrian cycle, why do we need a sidewalk and bike paths on the new bridge to save money? Just, they wouldn't use both. So that would create a lesser cost of the bridge, right?
Yeah, I think it gets back to the long-term, like wanting this bridge to be another 100-year solution for this location.
In case the other one falls down.
So the earthquake, the big one, could happen anytime, could be tomorrow. So we're thinking that over the next 100 years, the earthquake would happen. And if we don't retrofit our historic structures, that structure would fall in the water and no longer be of service. So that leaves them the newer bridge to provide the bicycle and pedestrian facilities.
Thank you.
And yes, you had a question.
I actually would kind of like to make a little speech about it if I could.
Yeah, well, come on up.
Would you like me to do that? Like
No,
to sit
please
there?
come up and state your name and the city where you live, and they'll be listening.
Okay. So my name is Dennis Tokstad, and I live the second house from the Stark Street Bridge, and some of our other neighbors have come tonight. As part of the outreach program of the project, none of the neighbors were contacted about this bridge project. And we've only recently heard about it through other people initially in Corbett that contacted us and talked to us about it. I'm a retired engineer with 46 years registration in the state of Oregon. I really can acknowledge the issues associated with the bridge project and everything that's involved in the planning of it. But the critical things that haven't been talked about, that we've heard at least so far, is that the neighbors that live by the bridge are dramatically affected by the traffic that goes up Stark Street. We live on Stark. We are joining the bridge. In the 20 years that we've lived in the spot that we do there on the river, we've had 4 deaths right in front of our house. We've had over 12 accidents right in front of our house. We've had 2 girls from Reynolds die in front of our house. I mean, it's been really something that dramatically affects us. And so the speed of these cars coming off of this bridge, now as the bridge is being improved, which it needs, and we can't challenge that at all, but the way that the traffic is going to interface with Stark needs to be dramatically addressed. And everything that we brought up to the county to try and address this up until this point has been ignored, including all the deaths that have been happening. When this bridge is updated and the Troutdale Bridge is not updated, this is going to draw more traffic. It's going to be the main thoroughfare of everybody going into Gresham. And so we're going to obviously be seeing more traffic. And one of the issues that we face right now is coming out of our driveways onto Stark with the traffic. And over the last 20 years, we've seen kind of a gradual increase in that. But we're really thinking that the changes to this bridge, if they're just done making it look more like a freeway ramp, is going to change the way that traffic interfaces with the neighbors that live along Stark right there. And getting out in the morning or anytime when you pull up out of your driveway onto the street, you can see down by the Riverview restaurant area, but you can't foresee the cars going at 50 miles an hour, sometimes more than that, up Stark, and they're instantly on you. And so those kind of issues need to be addressed, and this would be the perfect time really for the project team to be trying to look at some of those issues as well. So we want to bring up the traffic issues, the volume, the accident history that's been there right at the bridge essentially. And you can see the accidents listed on websites that the state maintains too. You can see all the little dots along there that have happened. But when we're looking at the dots compared to what we know historically has happened, they're not all listed. So we need to make sure that everybody's aware of it. So the bridge design, maintaining the historic design, I hear it through everybody's comments here. We really like to see it, and the neighbors especially would like to see it. And the new design of this more sleek bridge with no trusses over it or anything like that. While it's nice for a freeway, the historic Columbia River Highway is the gateway to the Columbia Gorge, and we really need to maintain that look of it. And I would really like to see one bridge put there. I know it was listed on one of the slides that maintaining that alignment was something that had been briefly considered, but you're a little worried about maybe not getting federal funding to do it. That needs to be investigated, and trying to keep the historic look of it in the same alignment with a single bridge without having to take more old tree growth down and all that kind of stuff. Not affecting the Riverview restaurant property like this one looks like it's going through it. I mean, it looks like there's an opportunity there, I think, that need to really be investigated. So I would really like to try and have the group seriously consider that. And whatever the obstacles are, funding or whatever, look into those to see what can be done. Anyway, I appreciate your time and just want to give you guys a few of the comments of what I've heard around the neighbors in just the very brief time that we've been aware of the project really getting serious.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Someone else, please.
I'm not as fast on my feet as Dennis, so I'm going to read this. And my name's Carol. My daughter Stacy Ludy lives next door to Dennis, and she asked me to read this on behalf of our family. First, we want to acknowledge the importance of this bridge to our community. We're aware that the existing bridge has significant structural and safety concerns that need to be addressed. We support finding a safe, reliable, long-term solution. Our concern is about how that solution is designed and how it will affect the surrounding community. After seeing the recently posted image of a proposed replacement bridge, which we also saw again tonight, we have concerns about the apparent size and location of the structure, traffic safety, property access, and preservation of natural landscape and the historic character of the area. Traffic safety is a major concern. Echoing on what Dennis said, vehicles frequently travel Stark Street at speeds above the posted limit, and there have been numerous crashes in this area, including fatal accidents. The existing bridge is relatively narrow, which actually causes drivers to slow down. A substantially wider bridge and roadway would encourage higher speeds. The proposed alignment also appears to bring the roadway closer to the neighboring homes. For residents such as us who live adjacent to the bridge, this raises questions about increased accidents, sight distance, noise, and the ability to safely enter and exit our properties. The people who live here every day have firsthand knowledge of these issues and other conditions that may not be fully appreciated from a map or engineering drawing. We encourage the project team at the county to meet with the property owners living close to the bridge to understand and address our concerns. We're also concerned about the potential impact to Sandy River Gardens and the surrounding mature Douglas fir trees. Based on the image that has been presented, it appears that the project would require acquisition of some portion of the Sandy River Gardens property and potentially the removal of these mature trees. These trees and established gardens and natural surroundings are important parts of the character and beauty of the area. In addition, the proposed structure appears to be more modern and visually imposing than the existing bridge, and it's inconsistent with the bridge that belongs in this historic and scenic setting. The county also has identified the historic and scenic significance of this location as an important alternative selection criteria. We believe that this should include preserving the natural landscape and residential character of the area wherever reasonably possible. We're asking that the county evaluate, address, and provide clear information about site distance for residents entering and exit their properties, driving speeds and the need for traffic calming measures, the crash history in this area, how the proposed bridge and alignment will affect nearby residential access, safety, and noise, whether private property acquisition will be required, whether mature trees will need to be removed, what alternative designs or alignments have been considered, which was briefly covered today, and how directly affected residents will be included before a preferred alternative is finalized. As the county evaluates alternatives, we ask that in addition to the structural needs of the bridge, the county also address the safety concerns of nearby residents and preserve the natural landscape and historic and scenic character of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else?
I'm Troutdale. On this particular subject, I'm going to start. I am completely opposed to design. That's it. I will find two people. I have a couple of questions. Wasn't known that Stark Street Bridge was closed for a while for what I believe to be reparations, fixing it and all that, wasn't fine. Shortly thereafter, they set out and hit it. It was fixed, I thought, really quick. Is anyone notified that this happened? 18-wheelers are not allowed on that bridge. They never have. And my discussion with the truck drivers was that, well, I don't know till I get here. And the dispatchers are sending them over the Stark Street Bridge. And what are they supposed to do with that? Back up. I mean, they're stuck. And so the fact that these, I mean, we just went through the flood of all times in Unsandy River. It was so flimsy and unsafe, it would have gone downstream. I have video of when the shore was, it was a huge flood, massive. Bridge still. So I take issue with, this is such a horrible bridge to begin with. In my mind, and I don't know quite how this works, but we know we like what we see. My personal experience is that there's really no issue because all of us know that over that bridge, to kind of look ahead, truck, moving truck, and we wait. I personally have never had an issue, and I've been doing it for 30 years. So when traffic increased, for example, when Stark Street Bridge was closed, everybody took 50% of Buxton and up and into Troutdale. And which took you to stop. And so there have been a lot of traffic changes in general. That was always like, I felt like I was a secret way home, so I didn't have to go up 57 with the truck stop. And so, I mean, I did, but then I got across the road and it's for sale. I land on top. So I've seen changes to traffic based on repairs. And I'm not picturing it right now, but I know there was a correlation between the Stark Street Bridge and traffic moving. So, I guess the question would be, we love the way, I mean, our bridge is great. We love our bridge, it's been here forever. Is there a way to recreate that bridge a little bit longer? Yeah. Even salvage some of the wood. Why not just, and the other thing is, the county says, well, money, we gotta make sure we have the money. So we don't know anything at this point, because we don't know money. When construction starts, what happens when they run out of money? Is it just gonna be unfinished for years? You know, there are just too many questions, and I think that, I don't know why Multnomah County has decided to do something about the Stark Street Bridge from their perspective. They don't live here, they don't know Troutdale. I will oppose it at every opportunity. I almost went down to, and I was just gonna go stand there on the Stark Street Bridge and tell the truckers, you can't go this way. Go all the way to Springdale and find a parking lot and turn around and go back. They don't even belong on Old Columbia River Highway if there's an alternative, in my opinion. You know? So, anyway.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking your mind, that's what this is for. Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. Tanny Stephenson, Troutdale resident. Just in regards to the bridge, I had the same question some other people did. If we're leaving the existing bridge for ped and bike traffic, is it necessary to put dual ped and bike lanes on the new bridge? I'm just wondering if somehow that could be scaled back a little bit, maybe save some cost there. And then plus, we could end up in the same situation we have at Beaver Creek where we have a bridge that nobody uses. And I'd rather see it somehow to where people tend to use the old bridge for ped and bike versus just making it, you know, so easy and so convenient to use the new one that no one uses the old one. And also, I would agree that traffic is a pretty substantial thing, and I haven't heard anything about how that's going to be addressed. I mean, if nothing else, a flashing yellow light would help. I was on the bridge just the other day and watched somebody go up on the curb trying to make the corner to get on the bridge they were coming north. They were turning onto the bridge, went up on the curb, and I think those of you that have been around see it all the time. It doesn't have anything to do even with an 18-wheeler or anything else. It's just coming down the hill too fast and trying to make the corner. And that's where, frankly, most of the damage has happened there. It's just people just driving too fast. And I think that's something that we have to address. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, well, you've heard from the public, and thank you again for the update. And best wishes on this project.